Sometimes the silence of a woman speaks louder than words. When a woman deeply loves a man, it doesn't always show up in smiles, sweet texts, or romantic gestures. In fact, it can show up in the most confusing and painful way of all, through ignoring you. But don't mistake this for a lack of love. What seems like distance might be coming from a much deeper emotional place. When a woman deeply loves a man but starts ignoring him, one of the most misunderstood reasons behind this behavior is emotional overwhelm. Love, especially when it's real, raw, and deeply felt, can be incredibly powerful. It doesn't always feel safe. It doesn't always feel light and joyful. Sometimes it feels like drowning in emotions she can't control. For a woman who has experienced heartbreak before, who has been abandoned, betrayed, or deeply let down, falling in love again feels less like flying and more like standing at the edge of a cliff. There's fear wrapped in every moment of intimacy. There's hesitation in every confession. So, when her emotions become too intense, she doesn't always respond with more affection. She might shut down, not because she wants to hurt you, but because she's trying to protect herself. Emotional overwhelm can come from a place of insecurity, too. She might be asking herself silent questions like, does he love me the way I love him? Or what if he leaves once he knows the real me? These thoughts can spiral in her mind, even without any wrongdoing on your part. The closer she gets to you emotionally, the more she risks losing you, and that risk can feel unbearable. So instead of embracing vulnerability, she retreats into silence. It's not that she doesn't want to talk. It's that she doesn't know how to talk without exposing her deepest fears. Her silence becomes her armor. Her distance becomes a form of self-soothing. Women often internalize emotions more deeply than they express them. When she's emotionally overwhelmed, her nervous system is in a kind of panic mode. She may not be able to handle one more conversation, one more expectation, or one more emotional demand. She needs space, but not because she wants out. She needs it to breathe, to process, to ground herself. The irony is, the man she loves the most is the one she avoids, not because of him, but because of what he represents: risk, vulnerability, emotional intensity. This overwhelm can also be triggered by seemingly small things: a shift in tone, a delay in response, a misinterpreted look. For a woman who is deeply emotionally invested, everything feels amplified. A simple text left unanswered for a few hours can spiral into a narrative of rejection. A moment of emotional unavailability from you can reopen wounds from her past. And when this happens, she doesn't lash out. She shuts down. She becomes distant, quiet, emotionally unavailable, not because she stopped loving you, but because she's drowning in the fear of what her love might cost her. In those moments, ignoring you is her attempt to regain control of her emotional reality. It's her way of pausing the emotional flood before it consumes her completely. A woman might ignore you to regain her power in the dynamic. When a woman falls deeply in love, she gives a part of herself emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually. That depth of connection can be beautiful, but it also comes with a price. Because when a woman starts to feel like she's giving more than she's receiving, she begins to lose her sense of balance. She starts questioning whether she's too available, too open, too emotionally naked. And if she senses, even subtly, that her vulnerability is not being matched by your emotional presence or effort, she will instinctively begin to reclaim her emotional power. One of the primary ways she does this is by ignoring you. It might seem like a game, but it's not. It's survival. Emotionally, she's trying to pull herself back to a place where she feels strong again. When she feels like she's constantly waiting on your attention, waiting on your words, waiting on your validation, that imbalance starts to bruise her pride. She begins to feel like she's chasing, like she's hoping more than she's being pursued. And for a woman who knows her worth deep down, even in love, that is an unbearable feeling. She may not say it out loud. She may not confront you or explain. Instead, she distances herself. She stops texting first. She stops engaging. She stops showing up with the same energy. It's not to punish you. It's to protect the part of her that feels like it's being slowly chipped away. When a woman ignores you in this state, she's asking herself silently, am I the only one trying here? She's testing the waters, not to manipulate you, but to see if you'll notice her absence, if you'll step up, if you'll close the emotional gap. She wants to know that her presence means something. And if she doesn't feel that from you, she'll pull back, not because she's falling out of love, but because she's trying to find her emotional footing again. It's not that she wants to detach from you. It's that she doesn't want to lose herself in you. There's a massive difference. Regaining power isn't about revenge or ego. It's about self-respect. Even the most loving, nurturing woman has a threshold for emotional imbalance. And when she crosses that threshold, her instincts kick in. She withdraws to assess, where do I stand in his life? Does he still see me, value me, prioritize me? Or have I become just another option? This retreat into silence, into emotional distance, is her way of trying to get back to a space where she can love herself while still loving you. When a woman ignores you in this way, it's a signal that something feels unequal. Something in the connection isn't giving her the security and emotional reciprocity she needs to feel grounded in love. Her silence becomes a mirror, reflecting the imbalance she can no longer ignore. Sometimes she ignores you because she doesn't feel seen or appreciated. This is one of the most common yet overlooked reasons why a woman starts pulling away emotionally from a man she genuinely loves. It's not about needing grand gestures or constant praise, it's about feeling emotionally visible. When a woman loves deeply, she tends to give in quiet, consistent, thoughtful ways. She remembers the small things, she supports your goals, she adjusts her time and priorities to include you, and she emotionally invests in your world. But over time, if she begins to feel like those efforts are not noticed, not valued, or worse, expected as normal, she starts to feel invisible in the relationship. And when a woman feels invisible, she retreats, not always physically, but emotionally. In her mind, she starts questioning, does he even notice how much I care? Does he see me trying, showing up, giving him parts of me I don't give to anyone else? These silent doubts become louder when her emotional efforts are met with complacency. The man may not even be doing anything wrong on the surface. He may still be there, physically present. He may still respond to messages or engage in conversation. But if those interactions become robotic, routine, or lacking in emotional connection, she feels it immediately. Women are emotionally intuitive. They pick up on shifts in energy long before words ever confirm it. And when she starts sensing that her emotional labor is going unrecognized, she internalizes that hurt, often without speaking up. Instead of complaining or begging for attention, she slowly starts to withdraw her emotional energy. Her texts become shorter, her enthusiasm fades, her availability decreases, and eventually she starts ignoring you altogether. It's not spiteful, it's not dramatic, it's self-preservation. A woman who feels unappreciated doesn't always explode or confront. Many women were taught from a young age to suppress their emotional needs, to avoid being seen as needy or too much. So instead of expressing that pain, they bury it, they smile through it, but beneath that smile is a growing void, and once that void becomes too wide, she starts creating distance, not because her love is gone, but because it feels too painful to keep giving to someone who doesn't reflect it back. Her silence is her way of communicating what she may not know how to verbalize, that she feels emotionally empty, emotionally unseen, and emotionally alone, even while being with you. And this type of emotional neglect can be so subtle that it goes unnoticed. You may think everything is fine because she hasn't said anything. You may assume that if something was wrong, she'd tell you. But women don't always tell you with words. They tell you with silence, with withdrawal, with the sudden lack of warmth that once defined your connection. Her ignoring you is not a sign of her love fading. It's a sign that her spirit is tired. Tired of showing up without being acknowledged. Tired of giving without receiving. Tired of loving without feeling loved in return. And when that emotional fatigue hits, her instincts tell her to step back, not because she wants less from you, but because she wants to feel like she matters to you again. A woman may ignore you to test the depth of your commitment. This isn't always a conscious game or a strategic manipulation. It's often an emotional reaction rooted in insecurity, uncertainty, and the deep fear of being abandoned or undervalued. When a woman loves deeply, she wants to feel safe in that love. She wants to trust it, to lean into it, to believe that the man she's given her heart to won't walk away when things become difficult or confusing. But if she senses even the slightest bit of inconsistency in your energy, whether it's your attention, your presence, or your emotional engagement, she may begin to wonder if your love is as deep as hers. And rather than ask you directly, she may do something far more subtle. She pulls back. She ignores you, not to be cruel, but to watch what you'll do when she's no longer right in front of you. This silence becomes her question. Will he chase me if I walk away, or will he let me go? And this question is not born out of arrogance. It's born out of emotional vulnerability. She wants to know that she matters beyond the surface, beyond convenience, beyond routine. She wants to see whether your connection is strong enough to survive distance. She wants to feel desired, chosen, and irreplaceable. And when she doesn't feel that security from you, she'll test it by stepping away, not because she wants to end things, but because she wants reassurance without having to beg for it. Her silence, her ignoring you, is a silent scream asking, "Do I mean enough to you that you'll notice I'm gone?" This kind of test is especially common in women who have been emotionally wounded in the past. If she's been through relationships where her presence was taken for granted, where she gave and was eventually left or forgotten, she may now be conditioned to fear the same outcome, even if you're nothing like the men before you. Trauma doesn't always wear a visible face. Sometimes it shows up in self-protective silence. Sometimes it looks like emotional distancing. She's not trying to punish you. She's trying to avoid reliving pain. She needs to know that if she stops being the one holding the emotional weight of the relationship, you won't just let it fall to the ground. She needs to know that if she pulls back to catch her breath, you won't just disappear. And yes, it can be confusing. From your perspective, everything might have seemed fine. She was there, loving you, giving you attention, investing in you, and then suddenly she goes quiet. The messages slow down, the energy shifts, and her presence starts to fade. It might feel like a complete emotional U-turn, But for her, this wasn't sudden. It's been building in her mind for a while. Every little moment where she questioned your interest, every time she felt you withdraw emotionally, every time she sensed a delay in your effort. Her test isn't about breaking you down. It's about figuring out where she truly stands in your heart. She's asking, if I stop being the one always trying, will he even care? And often, the way you respond in this moment tells her everything she needs to know. If you ignore her back, pull away, or act indifferent, she may take that as confirmation of her worst fear, that she was alone in her effort all along. But if you step up, if you reach out, if you express genuine concern and care, it rebuilds the bridge she was afraid was crumbling. It shows her that you're not just there for the good times. You're there when things get confusing, messy, and uncertain. She's not testing you because she wants you to fail. She's testing because she's praying you'll pass. Because deep down, she wants to trust your love. She just needs to know it's strong enough to withstand her silence. A woman deeply in love might ignore you because she's waiting for you to lead. This isn't about dominance or control, it's about emotional guidance. Women are often wired to seek security in the presence of masculine clarity. In relationships, that means looking for a man who can offer emotional leadership, not by force or manipulation, but through consistency, direction, and the ability to hold space when emotions become chaotic. When a woman feels unsure or unstable emotionally, she may not come out and say, "I need you to take charge emotionally." Instead, she quietly steps back and watches. She waits. She observes how you handle tension, how you respond to her silence, how you navigate uncertainty. Her withdrawal becomes an invitation, though it might feel like a rejection. She's not turning away from you. She's pausing, looking to see if you're the type of man who can center the emotional dynamic and lead it forward. Leadership in a relationship doesn't mean always having the answers. It means showing up with a steady presence. If she feels you're inconsistent with your intentions, if your energy is unpredictable, or if you've been passive while conflict or disconnection is growing, she may start to feel emotionally unsafe. This doesn't mean you've done anything terrible. It might just mean you've been drifting, coasting, reacting instead of initiating. To a woman who's emotionally invested, that lack of direction can be terrifying. It creates emotional ambiguity, and when a woman feels lost in a sea of unclear emotions and interactions, her instinct isn't always to confront. It's often to step away and see what you'll do. Her ignoring you in this scenario isn't about punishing you. It's a quiet challenge. Can you sense the emotional gap here? Can you feel me pulling away? And are you willing to step up and close that gap? She may feel disappointed if you don't notice. She may feel heartbroken if you do nothing. Because in her mind, if she has to constantly lead the emotional rhythm of the relationship, she starts to lose trust in your ability to hold space for her vulnerability. She doesn't want to be the one always initiating deep talks, always fixing the emotional rifts, always repairing the disconnection. She wants to see if you'll notice when something feels off, and if you'll take the lead in making it right. That's when she starts withdrawing, not because she's done with you, but because she's giving you the room to rise. And this dynamic often traces back to how a woman sees long-term emotional stability. If she's going to invest her whole self in a man, she wants to know that he won't disappear when things aren't easy, that he won't get defensive, shut down, or retreat emotionally when she becomes complex or emotionally messy. Ignoring you becomes her way of asking, Are you going to lean in or check out? She needs to feel like she can let her guard down and trust your guidance, your emotional presence, your leadership. Without that, she doesn't feel anchored. She feels adrift, and that's when the silence begins. Many men misunderstand this kind of silence. They either panic and become clingy, or they mirror her distance and pull away further. But what she's actually craving is initiative. She wants to see you reach out with calm confidence, not just to fix things, but to acknowledge what's happening, to say, I sense something's different. I'm here, let's talk. Let's understand each other. That act of leading emotionally, of initiating connection even when things are uncomfortable, is what makes her feel secure. It reassures her that you're not just reacting, you're intentionally guiding the relationship with emotional strength. And until she sees that, she may stay quiet, not because she wants to be, but because she's waiting for a man to step forward and meet her where her silence has taken her. A woman may ignore you when she's in love because she's fighting an internal battle between her head and her heart. Love, as powerful as it is, doesn't cancel out fear, logic, or past experiences. In fact, the deeper the love, the more intense the internal conflict becomes. For a woman who has experienced emotional pain in her past, whether from heartbreak, betrayal, abandonment, or even childhood wounds, falling in love doesn't feel like a fairy tale. It feels like standing in a burning building, trying to convince herself that the flames won't hurt her this time. Her heart may want you with every fiber of her being, but her mind is screaming at her to be careful, to slow down, to guard herself at all costs. And when that internal tug-of-war reaches its peak, the easiest thing to do is to go silent, to ignore, to pull away and give herself space to figure out what she really feels, what she really fears, and what she's truly willing to risk. This battle between the heart and mind is not always visible on the surface. She may still smile when she sees you, respond politely, act composed, but inside she's in turmoil. Her heart races every time she thinks of you. Her mind questions every detail, and she replays conversations in her head over and over again. She wonders if she's moving too fast. She fears losing herself in you. She asks herself if you truly feel the same way, or if she's setting herself up for another fall. And because those questions are too vulnerable to speak aloud, she lets her actions speak for her. She withdraws, hoping the space will quiet the storm inside. She stops texting, stops initiating, stops responding, not because her feelings are fading, but because they are becoming too overwhelming to manage. Sometimes this internal conflict is intensified by the way you make her feel. If you bring her a sense of comfort and closeness that she's never known, it can be both beautiful and terrifying. She may start to realize that you see sides of her that she's kept hidden from the world. You reach into places that she's carefully protected. And that emotional exposure is not easy for every woman to handle, especially one who's built her life around independence, emotional control, or self-reliance. When you penetrate those walls, even with love, she might respond with resistance, not because she doesn't want you, but because she doesn't know how to let someone fully in without losing control of herself. Ignoring you becomes her defense mechanism. It's the only way she knows how to protect herself while still loving you from a distance. And there's another layer to this too, her fear of making the wrong choice. Love can feel like a high-stakes decision, especially if she's serious about it. She's not just wondering if you're right for her emotionally. She's asking herself if this relationship is aligned with her long-term vision, her values, her goals. And if there's any disconnect between her feelings and her logic, she'll retreat. She'll stop responding, not because she doesn't care, but because she's trying to reconcile what her heart wants with what her life demands. It's an emotional processing period, and while it may come across as disinterest, it's often the opposite. She cares so deeply that she needs to be absolutely sure. Her silence is her way of navigating the chaos inside her, of trying to find clarity in the confusion, of creating enough space to hear her own voice above the noise of emotion. When a woman ignores you for this reason, it's not a sign that she's giving up. It's a sign that she's deep in reflection, that she's trying to protect something fragile and sacred inside her, that she's afraid of what happens if she fully surrenders to the love she feels. Because to love you means risking everything, her pride, her safety, her emotional stability. And if she hasn't yet made peace with that risk, her only option is distance, to be silent, to retreat within herself until she finds the courage to come back out, and until she feels emotionally safe enough to trust that her heart won't lead her to the same pain she's been trying so hard to avoid. So if a woman is ignoring you while deeply in love, understand that her silence is not empty. It's filled with emotion, reflection, and a quiet storm of thoughts she may not know how to express. It's not always about you doing something wrong, but often about her fighting to preserve her emotional balance, her dignity, and her sense of self. Instead of reacting with frustration or matching her silence with your own, pause and look deeper. A woman's love doesn't always speak through words. It shows itself in subtle actions, in distance, in emotional pauses that say, asterisk, I'm trying to find myself while still holding on to you. Asterisk, if you truly care, don't just hear her silence, asterisk, feel asterisk it. Respond with patience, with presence, with the strength that lets her know she's safe to come back. Because when a woman goes quiet, it's often her deepest cry for emotional clarity, and the man who can listen without needing noise is the one who earns her trust forever.